Hey, everybody, welcome back once again. I've got Nabil with me, and for the first time on the podcast, Mr. James Nicholas. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Woo woo,
Awesome.
baby face.
Yeah, Nabil made a comment, but I waited for us to get on the recording. It is coming in nice. How long did it take you? Like a week and a half? Month and a half?
Unfortunately, this is like months in the making of growing it out, realizing it's kind of like a mole and then like a little under my chin. So we're finally at like enough length everywhere that I can do stubble. So this is
Okay.
a long time coming.
Okay.
And
okay.
is the missus digging it or what?
I don't know if she notices.
That's the best answer.
And I think on that note, we should probably just go ahead and move forward.
Yeah, they can't get better than that. Hey, just to introduce things, what a low-scoring week, and I know I made the comment already in the group chat, but so many like non-relevant to fantasy players were like tight ends and fourth receivers on the depth chart were scoring early, and that made it no fun for fantasy.
Yeah, it's something that's, I guess it's a long time coming, because now I just feel like so many players are involved in offenses that it's just inevitable that that's just where we're going to get at. And as a guy who's had way too many touchdowns snaked by players who are nameless or just not expected to be the ones scoring, yeah, it's killer.
Yeah, I had a running back that got me negative points. I don't know if that's ever happened to me before.
I know it's happened to me. I can't remember, like years and years and years ago. I had someone like fumble on their first touch and get injured, and that was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah,
great job there. Yeah. So also Nabil, we've been talking about how this isn't a 49ers pod, but there's enough of us who are 49ers fans, and we got another one with us today. Will you finally admit that Jimmy G is a good quarterback, or was Sunday a fluke?
How do I feel about the Rams is really a good question, right? Because like they have Ramsey, they had Aaron Donald. Honestly, everyone just played up to what they needed to. I think that's how it can look, right? And if that's a good day, I prefer more good days than bad days. I still look at those throws, Chris. Still look at those throws.
It's better than you could do, Nabil.
I mean, if that's the standard we're going to start measuring quarterbacks by, like everyone gets a gold star. So.
James, what was your biggest takeaway here? I assumed you watched the game, right?
Yeah. I'm super pumped for Ayuk and Debo and Kittle to be on the field at the same time.
Right.
I've been like waiting for that, and that's going to be so fun to watch for like the next few years. But I'm super bummed that Mostert's out. I feel like the running back room is like super deep, but him on the field is like his vision. He turns like the 4-yard runs into like the 8 and 9 yard runs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like McKinnon and Hasty are just like not going to do it.
Yeah, Mostert's clearly become the lead back, in my opinion. What were you saying, Nabil?
Yeah, like I couldn't agree more. I think they're and that's kind of I think where I'm hesitant to go ahead and say that Jimmy G's the savior of the Niners, and now that his ankle tweak is feeling a little better, that he's just all of a sudden going to be better. I think Mostert just adds such a different dimension to the game, because exactly what James said, right? He can bust a 4-yard into a 20-yard easy. Like it's odd that like for a name that isn't that well known outside of maybe our market and maybe outside of fantasy, like he is respected clearly, because I think it does leave more or less pressure on like Ayuk and Debo to get out there and be receivers that the Niners have needed for so long. I bitched and moaned about it during the draft that why didn't we get Judy or whoever fell to us. It just they definitely stepped in, and like Brandon Ayuk looks good. Like I kind of like him. They keep calling him a Debo light, and I'm like, I don't know if are they really the same fruits? Are we really trying to compare apples to apples? Because I think they can be used differently, because Debo's like just a big back sometimes when they run him on those jet sweeps.
Yeah. I'll tell you what though my biggest takeaway was, I don't know if I talked about it in our group chat as much, or the one I live with a Rams fan, and used to work with him and another guy who's also a Rams fan. So I got in a group chat with them where I talked about how like the Niners just were not the same team that they were last year. Like they got worse at almost every position group, or injured, or both. But the offensive line absolutely stepped up for San Francisco on Sunday. 0 sacks allowed with Aaron Donald. Like that's they just stepped up. They played better, and the secondary absolutely just played better. And it's going to take more consistency from the quarterback position and from the skill positions too. And they can turn this thing around. I don't think, getting that 1 seed in the first round bye is going to happen this year, but the Niners absolutely can still make the playoffs if they continue to improve, continue to get healthy. That was my biggest takeaway from like across, maybe not fantasy relevant with the O-line and the secondary, but that was nice to see.
Yeah, I agree.
And the play calling, I feel like
it was better too.
Sometimes Shanahan gets overconfident almost, it seems like, with the like high-powered run game, and all of a sudden it's not working, and first and second down, all of a sudden it's 3rd and 8 because of 2 like up the gut run plays. And this time it felt like there was more jet sweeps. There was more, just like a lot more fun play calling and not as many 3rd and long situations.
I think that's like the best way to describe it is like when our team looks like they're having fun, and that's kind of is based off of play calling, we just do that much better because I think there's like that sense of confidence that the team just has when it is a kind of more creative play calling style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
speaking of having fun, I think we haven't mentioned him before, but even though we've talked about guys who look like they have fun just being on the football field with Cam Newton and the like, Ryan Fitzpatrick to me is absolutely one of those guys who just looks like he has fun being on the football field, playing football, being the backup, whatever he's got to do. And Nabil, you want to make a point to talk about what's going on in Miami with the Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa taking the starting role down there in Miami.
He went for it. I'm staying with Tua. I'm actually kind of shocked that they made the change. And the only big reason I want to bring it up is like, are you guys kind of shocked? Because like, I thought he only really came in to close out the game. It wasn't necessarily that Fitzpatrick was having a bad game, right?
Oh,
and so to me, it's like, who is there sitting like pressuring the Dolphins to make this move? I guess they want to see what he has out there. They haven't really had a preseason, but why not just then start throwing him in at the end of these games? Why go to a full start, put the full pressure on him when he is kind of, I mean, you guys saw that picture of him sitting on the field. Like it's obviously a huge moment for him to kind of get out there after his injury. And so I don't know. I feel like the Dolphins are actually making the wrong decision by jumping in that quickly to making him a starter.
Yeah, I was shocked too. I feel like with Fitzpatrick, you've got a pretty safe safety net, and then later in the season, you've inevitably got a really poor performance out of him, and then you can logically then make the move like week 14, 15 to like get 3 games with Tua. But he's been playing well. The only thing I can think of is like, you've only got Fitzpatrick this year, so maybe get Tua some action, and then Fitzpatrick's there on the sidelines to like help coach in like real game situations, because I think he does have value as kind of like that sideline veteran experience, almost like additional coach in the quarterback room, but it does feel way too early.
Here's my thought on what the coaching room, or maybe coach and the GM's whole thought process must have been with the whole thing, is that they wanted to start Tua as soon as possible. Like he would have been a Joe Burrow starting week 1, that type of rookie. But they literally just were not ready to put him in that position until Tua and his trainer, the doctors, whatever, everyone signed off on him being able to play football. We didn't get any preseason. Obviously, Tua wasn't not practicing, but you're not hitting the quarterback in practice anyway. And maybe they just finally felt like now was the time that he was physically ready to go, and he was always going to be the starter as soon as possible. And it literally is a nursing of an awful injury. He broke his hip the same way basically that Bo Jackson did. And so I'm glad to see him back on the field. I think that they had a good thing going with Fitzpatrick. Looking at the standings, they're 3-3. They're in second place in the division. Just outside of one of the wild card spots, so they could make a playoff push. And if Tua is the quarterback of the future, why not throw him in there now? Also, might be, why not? Like, if that's the guy you're going to try to win with, and your team's doing well enough to try to win now, then go for it. One of those two thought processes, I think, must have been what they're thinking.
I'm coming in. I'm coming in here. I'm coming in. I know that we have bold predictions at the end, but here's one related to this conversation. Ryan Fitzpatrick is traded before
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because that actually makes the most logical sense, because I still don't know why you'd start Tua. I still think you phase him in, or you start to throw him in different looks during the game to really give him that, because what he threw twice, right? So it's not like, looking on the field, he looks a lot better than we thought. Like, that's not enough. That's why there's usually 4 preseason games and you usually phase them in.
Mm-hmm.
I think there has to be a market that they're looking. I mean, there's so many quarterbacks that aren't playing well right now, so I don't see why this is not the opportunity. We were talking about trades last week. I don't know how we missed the Fitzpatrick trade.
Well, we didn't. No one thought of Tua as fantasy relevant, really. I think is part of it. But James, who do you think, just off the top of your head, or maybe if you're looking at a list of teams, like I am, because I'm looking at the list of teams in the NFC and I see one obvious target. What do you think though?
The two I was thinking is, I feel like the Washington football team quarterback room is so messy, and I don't feel like anyone wants to trust Alex Smith's leg. And then the Cowboys, I feel like Andy Dalton just showed not a lot of confidence, and that division's still wide open. And I think Fitzpatrick's a much better option than what Andy Dalton is at this point to make a late push.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Actually, funny those two teams play each other this week, but I think if Washington, even is within a touchdown of Dallas, you got to imagine that the Cowboys are going to look to try to get a newer stopgap, because they are 2-4, but they are in first place with games against Washington and Philadelphia the next 2 weeks. So they could be 4-4 and cruising into the playoffs if they fix the quarterback situation in Dallas.
My Lord.
Yeah. Let's talk some fake football now. Look, a couple of the matches I wanted to recap. Obviously, the big one, the one that had everyone on the edge of their seat between Nabil and Spencer. Nabil, how you feeling after all that?
My hands are in the air and I'm praying, hallelujah, let's do this. Okay, hold up. I get that was a dumb loss for Spencer, but look at my roster. It's not like I didn't have the exact same things happen on my side, and had I actually freaking chose the right quarterback this time, or even finally played Drake, it would have been landslide. And I guess you can do the same to him, but I just think he got unlucky the same way that I got unlucky with Beckham. Tyreek Hill is kind of one of those boomer busts. This is I guess the one bust week that he's had. It was uncharacteristic. He got the exact kicker game that I accounted for when I sent out in the thread of what I need to happen. But it just was that Hill didn't score more than 10 points, and
5.5 points for Hill was output before that was 15.4. So definitely could have used that for Spence.
I think for me, just moving forward, I don't think people realize how big of a victory this is for the kind of future of my own team here, because this is at least that one more week prolonged to get me closer to hopefully being 4-4 and not 1-5,
right?
Or 2-5. And I'm obviously projecting myself to win this week, but that's not necessarily the case against Evan. But I now have a little bit of room, or I have some, I can take a breath and I can feel like I can actually compete this time. Because if I lost this, I would have probably been on the market with, Hunter trying to sell some players, but our league is still pretty wide open. And I think anything could happen, especially since injuries and COVID are all playing a factor.
Right. James, your thoughts on this matchup?
I just don't know how you came out with a win with Derrick Henry putting up 40.
Yeah.
And the Trey Burton play, like 21 points out of nowhere. And now he looks like a solid tight end moving forward. So it's a fun one.
It was a fun one. It was a fun one for the league to follow along to. One thing I want to point out about Nabil, like if you do end up like having to go in the tank, you've got the CEH, which looked like it was going to be a great piece, and it sucks for you on the timing because like for the Bell signing, because it's like, what if now he starts getting like 8 to 10 points a game instead of the like 15 to 20? It looks like you can kind of count on. Could be interesting for you as far as like what your trade options are down the stretch, whether you become a buyer or seller.
Yeah, I think it's weird because, right, like maybe with this game and it was against Dallas late that he really got this burst, but like maybe Drake kind of starts to step in as someone I can trust again. I'm not too confident in that, but like it is funny how both of my who were on my, I would say they were on the trading block, but pretty unspoken. CEH and Drake kind of both took a hit over the last few weeks of having any value. And I just to comment about how it must feel for Spencer to lose with a 40-point game for Derrick Henry. It was week 4 that I had a almost 40-point game from Beckham and lost to Giroux. So I know the feeling.
It's not good.
This is like the rare time that I'm just going to go ahead and say, it happens. Sorry, Spencer, but that's my win, and it's not a lucky win.
It always takes some amount of luck, though. Moving on to the matchup between Rocha and James, which was the other very, very close match. James, I'll shoot it over to you first, since it was your very unfortunate loss. How are you feeling about that one?
Pretty bummed. Going into Monday, he had Mahomes and Kelsey, and I just needed them to not go like nuclear, and they didn't, so I had a shot. And then I was like following the Cowboy game on my phone, and there's like a minute 46 left, and Cooper gets the garbage time touchdown to put him up by 2. So that was a bummer, but I can't really blame myself because Young Hoku is like carrying me through this season, and that's pretty lame.
He is. What does Young Wei do? My same one, the Rams fan, housemate. He actually went to the same high school as Young Wei, which is why I know how to pronounce Young Wei Koo. Young Ho, though, he had one game where he didn't score on 8.5, and yeah, every other game's been 10 or more. So
and he was injured.
He's doing
that
some
game,
work, right?
And I had to pick up another kicker because I wasn't going to drop him. He's like my top scorer.
Always a bummer to get a 0 from anyone. I started Jaceki in a couple other leagues, and that was a real bummer. When you figure the tight end against or anyone playing against the Jets is going to do well. And then the Ernest Johnson play, 4 attempts for 1 yard and a fumble for minus 0.9. It's like what sucks is like if you pick up literally like anyone, right, who's going to score you like 2 points, like and put them into either of those spots, you win.
Yeah, and Zach Ertz is out now, and so I'm just like, oh god, what do I do at the tight end position? So yeah, just in general, a lot of little things where it was like, damn it, I was so close.
You really, really were. Yeah, I think that's probably the lowest point output from Rocha on the season, and you would, as a fan of trying to like keep everybody in the playoff race, at least like as someone who's dropped from 9th to 11th place, you hate seeing the guy in first start to run away with it when he gets low scores like this. I feel like this is usually what happens with you though, James. So maybe a little bit of a bounce back.
Years of revenge.
Yeah, Nabil, what are your thoughts on the matchup?
Honestly, it's like I mean, you just got unlucky. I think what's hard about like the whole Ertz situation, and you might have to keep rolling out. Oh no, the Dolphins are on a bye. That's rough.
I know. I need to figure out something for next
week. I feel like it's just you're just unlucky there, and I think you'll be able to roll up Jacobs. I think I have D'Ernest Johnson in another league, and I just dropped him. I don't even care how much I spent. Like overspent way too much in my other league on him for fab comparatively to everyone else, and it was just like, well, now I look like an idiot because he really hasn't shown any spark since that week 4. And honestly, I think the Browns they're going to need to start making changes, and it might even get harder for the running backs. And as a Hunt owner, and you being like a Chubb owner, it's like, what future do we have to look forward to at this point? Because Baker Mayfield, I know he was injured, but he kind of reminds me of Jimmy G, someone who's a little overhyped and not very accurate. And the hard part for him is he was drafted as an accurate quarterback, right? Like, and he showed it his first year, but then I don't know if it's getting hit too much or what's happening there, but they surrounded him around, with weapons that he should be able to just be one of the top in the league. I mean, look at Dak Prescott, right? And, obviously he's out this year, but like, actually, can I laugh at that stat for a second? Do you know that even after week 6, missing 2 weeks, he's still the quarterback with the most yards thrown? Isn't that freaking insane?
Dak is?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's something that I think Baker Mayfield should be, and it's affecting that whole team. And I think if they were more of a passing threat, Dearness Johnson might step into something where it would be like Hunt White, where you get like 10 points a week, but it's not looking like it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you just mentioned in your other league. Spent way too much fab, and I was hoping with like the Stefanski play calling, there'd be 2 relevant running backs, and it's just not the case.
Yeah, I've never really been a Baker believer. Also, Baker played at Oklahoma in college, and the Big 12 has been famous for high-powered offenses and basically no defense for the last 10 years now. Not that you can't play in the Big 12 and be successful in the NFL. There's plenty of guys who have done it, but I was never really a big Baker believer. And so I get where you're coming from on those points, to be like, he was built to be this like accurate passer. Like, where is that? Like, if he loses that, like, what else does he have?
Yeah, I mean, he's short.
Right.
And like did
you see the tweet that was short. Like, they put the wrong Baker Mayfield in, and it was like him from the commercial, like with the the Hulu has live sports commercial. Like,
yeah, did you not see some of the thing like that I sent on the chat?
Was that on the group chat? Did someone send it on the group chat, or did I see it somewhere else?
I sent it on the group chat, but like 100%, like the internet is winning.
That was great. That was very, very good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel you, James, because now that if Chubb comes back and with Hunt, like, we're probably both going to be texting each other just cursing, because what are we supposed to do moving forward? Because now I don't even know if there is enough room for two quarterbacks. So,
yeah.
Or 2 running backs. My apologies.
Don't think there will be. Let's look at the one matchup I wanted to preview. It's Rocha again, and you kind of have to when it's number 1 versus number 2. Drew's on the left side here. Obviously, he's got Mark Andrews in the starting lineup. That's going to change. So he'll have at least a few more points projected at the tight end position. Not really sure yet. Also, Drew, you've got
Drew's hurting on bye weeks.
He literally has an empty bench slot.
But talk about a man who's gonna start feeling it. Like, I mean, I guess
this is a tough week for him to go up against Rocha. And Rocha, again, with the schedule luck, I swear, has been getting he's getting everyone on their bad bye weeks. And then he's got Mahomes and Kelsey, which is an incredible stack. But this is a battle for first place potentially. James, what are you looking at when you're looking at this?
Looking at Drew's wide receivers, I feel like, I mean, in the playoffs, this will be a great matchup when he doesn't have Andrews on a bye, if they end up facing each other. But I mean, Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, DK Metcalf, all of those could have a boom week with 2 touchdowns each. And like, none of them are playing that stout of a defense. Like the Jets for Stephon Diggs, he could have a huge game.
Yep.
Chicago's D isn't what it was a few years ago. Arizona's D is not insane. So his team is just scary. And then if like Bell gets going and starts getting more of the carries and in Kansas City, Drew's got like a very scary team. And then Russell Wilson too. Like,
yeah,
you just got all of these players who could be the ones that put up 30 to 40 points in any given week.
You talk about his wide receivers, and he slots in Justin Jefferson because of buys, and he goes off for 39 points against me. I played against Justin Jefferson in multiple leagues. Like, I'd never heard of the guy, and I played against him last week with Drew and in another league.
Hey, you never heard of Justin Jefferson? He was like one of the top wide receiver prospects.
No, I know who he is, but I'd never faced him in fantasy before, and then the first time I ever have to like look up his stats, he goes for 9 catches for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, oh, great. Nabil, any more thoughts on the Drew Rocha match?
Honestly, I do think this is one that Ryan walks away with for a lot of the same reasons that you guys talked about. I am, as a CEH owner, I am very interested in seeing how Bell's performance comes out. This should be the week that he's in there practicing. I think 7's actually probably accurate for what he could get in this game. Denver's defense is still, pretty good. And so it might be at least I feel like their run defense is pretty good and relatively stout. And so I think it's like are they just going to throw? I don't know. It's going to be interesting because he might also just be the passing back. Cause that's the one thing I've been hurting, watching CEH is that they're just not using him in the passing game. Like at least how it was hyped, right? Like it was like,
right.
It's this college back who can catch like I think he had like 52 receptions over the last season in college. And it's like, he's not even on target for that in 13 games. I don't even think he'll get close. He's just not putting any of that. He also doesn't score on the ground. So I think like Bell probably has a better nose for the end zone and they might just use him for that year to go back to back. And I think what is interesting about the projection that Drew has for this week, and if he can figure out, obviously the tight end and maybe Bell puts a little bit more production, is going back to Stephon Diggs. Like, it's odd because when you think of projections, you usually think like, oh, okay, that's hot on the high end. Only one game has Stephon Diggs gone below that projection. And against the Jets, like, I don't even know how they haven't blown that up to be 20, right? It should be interesting to see because Josh Allen is looking worse, but as far as accuracy, but I don't know. Maybe they just think it's going to be ground and pound so that they don't need to throw the ball. I don't know. I think it's low and I think he'll get more points.
Yeah, no, I think we're all on the same page that Roach is definitely a huge favorite in that game. He's other than Travis, who's only 3 points ahead of, like, he's the number one scoring team. He's not in bye week trouble like Drew is. Like, it's going to be probably an easy win for him, but it's something we got to check out when it's literally number one versus number two. And then kind of the bigger picture here that if I know, I'm just looking at the standings. So if we kind of just assume that Roach is going to beat Drew, Kevin's playing me, which is most likely going to mop the floor with me. And then in fourth place, you got Travis is playing Hunter. And just looking at that matchup again real quick, we all kind of know, like, Hunter's literally already in sell mode. I can't see him even filling in someone at the quarterback. Hunter actually turning it around to having a team that can compete with Travis, most likely. Obviously, like, if you kind of count those as 3 wins, right? You're going to have Rocha at 5-1 or at 6-1. Kevin at 6-1, and then you're gonna have Drew at 5-2, but then literally only one game behind is gonna be Travis with either the highest or second highest point total, and that race for the buys becomes like a 4-person race at that point between Rocha, Drew, Kevin, and Travis after this week, or am I looking into this too much?
Go ahead, James.
It kind of does. It's just like this year, I feel like unlike any other year, it's just like the top 5, I think, could all flip so quickly in like 5 weeks. Like, Drew's got a great team. Abon's got a great team. I thought Travis's team, like, week 2 was the worst in the league, and now I'm super scared to play Travis. And just given all of the COVID stuff, I think it can all just flip, I think, in 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what gets a little bit more cutthroat is that battle for sixth, considering, we talked about it a few weeks ago that and I just said it earlier in the conversation, it's just like, this league's still really wide open. And I don't think we can just sit there and think like players are, they're just going to keep hitting their normal production values. I think there's going to be so much variance because there's so much trash in the league, right? Like, this is also like the NFC East looks like garbage. So there's going to be games where people who are maybe projected for lower scores are going to blow up because they're going against these teams that just cannot play defensively. And so it'll be interesting how much all of these results change, like you said, in like 5 to 6 weeks. Are we going to be saying the same thing? Likely, I think the top 4 are pretty locked in. I still think, obviously we always call Hoyt a competitor, and obviously he's on his slip. But I don't know. I think it's still pretty wide open, and I think the 6th place battle is going to be the most fun to watch.
Yeah, Hoyt plays against Spencer, which is a big matchup as far as that positioning will end up going. They're only 13 points apart in total points. They're both 3-3. I think both of them are going to be competing for that 5th or 6th spot. But I can't see either one of them going on a run enough to, or James, the other team at 3-3, like any one of those teams going on enough of a run to track down 2 out of a 6-1 Rocha, a 6-1 Kevin, and the point lead that Travis has, and then Drew also with a pretty good amount of points. We'll be sitting at 5-2. Like, I just can't see them passing those, especially Kevin and Rocha after this week. Like, they're going to be both in at 6-1 most likely. I think the championship is still wide open because anything can happen in the playoffs. And this, right. If you get in, you get in. But I feel like the race for the buys is, which, it's one less game you have to win in order to win a championship. So it is important. I think that race for the buys starts to solidify a little bit more and a little bit earlier than normal, even though the league title absolutely still up for grabs.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so I had a bold prediction that I wanted to make. It's not at all football related, but it's Dodgers in 5 for the World Series. Sorry guys, that's my bold prediction. I feel like we got too much good baseball in the last couple of rounds as far as great series goes, and Tampa Bay wins one of the first 2, but I think the Dodgers overtake them or overpower them rather in the middle games, and I'm going Dodgers in 5 of the World Series. That's my bold prediction.
I have no way to contribute to this conversation other than my bold prediction is that Kershaw chokes in some game. That's all I know is probably a given.
Is game 1 tonight?
I don't know. James, you know?
I do not know. I've given up on baseball this season.
This season? I think it's gotten worse with it being big plays and strikeouts. But, hey, that's just me.
Yeah, Kershaw is currently pitching. He's got 2 outs so far in the top of the 2nd. No score yet in game 1.
This is not the choke game, clearly. I don't know. Is that good? Are two strikeouts or 2 outs good? And whatever.
It's early on in the game, like he's got no earned. Like let's look at it his whole stat line, shall we? He's got 1 hit allowed, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts through 1.2 innings pitched. Like, he's doing fine. Like, it's not great. Okay. It's not bad. He's doing fine.
I'll check in like 6 hours when they're still in the 5th inning. And the score is like 2-0 or whatever the score is.
You love
now.
Baseball. Don't.
You know what I do love? I love going and grabbing some beers and watching the game. And by watching the game, I mean drinking beers and shit talking with my friends. That's it. So,
I do miss going to the game. That's for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So bold prediction time. How about James? You want to go? Or
yeah, I'm pretty happy with mine. So I feel like the Raiders are a sneaky fun team to watch right now with Henry Ruggs. So I'm going that he has 4 or less receptions, but scores 2 touchdowns against Tampa Bay.
Ooh. Okay.
That's wild. That's not
I
actually
like
how
it.
I thought we were going.
I like it.
Yeah, I can dig that. Well done, James.
What do you think? Like what's the yardage on these touchdowns? Is he getting red zone looks, or is he gonna bust one or two?
Like boomer bust plays.
Boomer bust plays. Okay.
Probably like a 30-yarder and then like a 60 to 70-yarder.
Okay, all right. So like 4 for 90 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's not bad. That's certainly doable.
That's
like based on the last 2 games. Isn't that the game that he had last against Kansas City? I feel like that's got to be pretty close to that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Basing it off, yeah.
I know.
Oh,
the Raiders are sneaky fun, though. I legitimately like wanted to pick them to beat Kansas City straight up, and then like as like my bold prediction, and I even went to like bet on it, and like they'd pulled the game because there was a COVID scare from my gambling site, so I couldn't bet on it, and then I forgot to make that my bold prediction, and then they won, and I was like, oh yeah,
James. His stat line last time was 2 for 118 and a touchdown. Yeah, you just played around with the numbers a little bit.
How many targets though did he have?
3 targets.
So my bold prediction is like less.
He'll have more catches than he had. He'll have more catches than he had targets last game. That'd be.
Yeah, no, I still like it though, because I it's so weird because he is the talented wide receiver on that squad. You would think he'd have more than 3 targets. I know that he's been injured, but I like it. No, I still think it's bold. I thought originally when you said it, it was going to be like 2 catches for 15 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I was just like, I mean, I can see that too. But all right, I'll come in with mine here.
What do you got?
We both. No, well, now we have 3 people on this. We all know that I have sucked at choosing quarterbacks, and so naturally, I'm going to make one about my quarterback because I've been generally good at predicting other people's running backs. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I will be starting Tannehill this week, and my projection for Tannehill is that he's going to be the first player to score 20 plus points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't look at who they've played because it's pretty shitty, but I feel bold in that decision still. He's going to throw for 280 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, and rush for 25 yards, giving me a whopping 25 points, 25.7 points. So
no picks, huh?
No picks. I have 0 interceptions written on mine.
All right, no picks. Okay. I like it for its boldness. It definitely fits that criteria.
Yeah, I was looking at his games. He has yet to so he's thrown 2 games over 300. And each of those he's thrown 1 pick. So I'm just hoping that he cleans it up. And I took the average there more or less of that Minnesota and Houston game. So
wait, hold on. Time out. So you just went back and like ripped James a new one for basing his bold prediction on facts and numbers. And then, I got you, James. And then you make some ridiculous claim that you think Ryan Tannehill is going to tear up Pittsburgh. And then you go ahead and start backing it up and with like the same type of logic you just ripped James for. I can't let that go. I can't let that go.
James didn't consider the opponent. I mean, he should know that. Like he could have backed his.
He thought no.
We're arguing in front of him. Are we?
Run the tape back because he.
I said Tampa.
He said Tampa. Run the tape back. He absolutely mentioned Tampa. Nabil.
I was sending a work email.
I'm gonna send this podcast to your boss.
It's all right. They already approve everything for me, so I'm
like,
fine. Whatever. Mine's bold.
It's not bold. It is bold. I don't think that Tannehill will have that great of a game against Pittsburgh, but that's my opinion, and ultimately it's your opinion that matters because he's on your fantasy team.
Can I make the argument that
go ahead,
25
James.
Points from Tannehill is not a bold prediction? I'm not going to compliment you there, Nabil. That's so boring.
I think it's bold only because I don't think it's going to happen. Like I think it's bold
against like that's why I opened up with Pittsburgh's like points against when it comes to quarterbacks. So it's bold against Pittsburgh, but then again, I also did tell you guys don't look at who Pittsburgh has played because it is pretty pathetic otherwise.
Okay.
And they just lost Devin Bush, didn't they?
Hold on. We had this chat on the group chat, and now I want to have it here, and we actually went kind of short compared to normal. So sorry, but we're going to talk a little bit longer. The question is Pittsburgh good? And I really want, and like, because I can't remember, was it Hunter who was like, are they good?
Someone definitely like they briefly mentioned it.
Like, obviously at 5, and let's take a look. It's 4 home games.
Okay,
They've played the Giants, Broncos, Texans, Eagles, and Browns.
And Houston. Texans, sorry, my bad.
James, are the Steelers good?
I think they are good. That defense is pretty scary. And I mean, like, the Browns, the Cowboys have a terrible defense, but they like outshot that offense, and they held the Browns to only 7 points.
Right.
They have like an endless supply of good rookie wide receivers every year. James Conner's looking better. I don't think they're like top 3, but I would say they're maybe top 5.
Okay. Nabil.
I think they definitely win their division. They, they're going to get the bye week. I think the Steelers are always this, and all it takes, their Achilles heel is Big Ben.
Right.
So like Big Ben has been playing all right. I think they are. To answer the question in short, yes, I think they're that good. To go back to my point about my projection for Tannehill, the quarterbacks that the Pittsburgh Steelers have played against are Daniel Jones, Jeff Driscoll, Deshaun Watson, and Carson Wentz, and Baker Mayfield. So, yeah, that's not that bold. I want to go bolder. I'm going to say 300 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, and 50 rushing yards.
You were 280 to 300 passing yards. That's like one more completion.
I did 20 more yards, and I rushed for another 25. So shut up.
And did I hear 4 touchdowns in there too?
Yes.
That's bold.
Shut up.
4
It's
passing touchdowns.
At least mine are bold and not like wacky, like the Dodgers are going to win in 5. We had a lot of fun here. James, thanks for joining.
Yeah. In my opinion, Pittsburgh is good. I think that in general, you can kind of divide the NFL into good teams and bad teams, and that being a pretty big bucket. And it ebbs and flows. And Pittsburgh has been a good team for a long time. Now, there's obviously there's the elite level teams, like where like the Chiefs and Ravens were at for most of last year. The Niners for a little bit. The Packers until whatever the hell happened to them against the Bucks. Like they looked like maybe that they're at like an elite level. Seattle too, but yeah, like Pittsburgh's good. Like we don't have to crown them champions yet just because they're 5-0, but like they are good.
Yeah, I think they walk away with a win in that division. I'm still like pretty confident about that. I know the Ravens are pretty good, but it's so much easier when you have a defense you can trust. You can kind of be a little bit more reckless on offense.
Yeah.
And while the Ravens kind of also have that, I do kind of still think there's some unpredictability with Lamar Jackson. And I mean, he's proven to be really good, but yeah. I just don't.
Yeah, I think those Steelers.
He's one I'm more questioning than anything.
Yeah, I think those Steelers Ravens games are going to be a ton of fun to watch as usual.
I mean,
go ahead.
The AFC looks pretty good. I'm just like looking at standings right now. Like the Bills, I think their offense is kind of whack. Like I feel like you're going to get hot and cold with Josh Allen. I think the Patriots will figure it out. Dolphins are kind of a fake. The North is always the Ravens and Steelers. Tennessee Titans. I think the Colts. If Philip Rivers actually figures it out, like if last week was like, okay, wait, I can't be this shitty. Let me just go ahead and score shit 10 points at the end, or I guess at the end of the second half. Like the Colts can be really good because they're another team that has like a sneaky good defense, a good line, pretty good running game. And then you obviously have the Chiefs and dare I say it, the Raiders. So I think there's a lot of talent in the AFC, but I still putting it, paper to pencil or pencil to paper. Like I still think the Steelers are easily one of the 2 best teams in that conference.
All right. Yeah. So now that is bold.
Don't sit here just because you didn't have a real football bold prediction here that you're going to come after me and James.
You know what?
At least we had predictions. Why don't you make one? Make one.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look. Yeah, look. Give me a second. We're gonna pull up the NFL schedule and we'll end it on this. Let's take a look. Let's see.
You should go Tua. Make a Tua prediction.
You want to hear a bold prediction? You want to hear a real bold prediction?
Do it. I know what you're gonna say. Do it.
The Jets beat Buffalo.
Oh, that's bold, but that's not what I thought you were gonna say.
What did you think I was gonna say?
I think Tua outscores Tannehill.
I also think that will happen.
Do it.
But well, yeah,
do
fine.
Say it.
Yeah, the Tua outscores Tannehill will be my bold fantasy prediction, and my very, very bold real football prediction. We're gonna go with that the New York Football Jets get a win against the Buffalo Bills, because it's not really you can't really be a Bills fan without being like in pain all the time, right?
Yeah, they're getting it too easy.
Sorry, Drew. James, you got anything else before we sign off?
No, thanks for having me. This was a blast, and I can't wait to be invited back, hopefully.
I can hear his little smile on his little face.
I think we'll have to have you back sooner, if not later, or both. Nabil, you got anything else?
I'm good, man. Let's get that third win for me, so that I can start feeling like I have a shot.
Yeah. So we got for now. Talking to you guys, and we'll do it again soon.
All right, later, Chris.